Activate Community Campus is the dream, has been the dream for quite some time. You have to excuse my pronunciation, but hei wahi hapai orangi o te iwi, a place to support the well-being of the community. God is always about out. He's always about looking out and reaching people. And that is the dream of the campus. You've probably seen these brochures lying around for a little while, but let me reinforce to you what they say. So, Activate Community Campus, imagine creating a legacy of hope. A legacy of hope for our city. I dream of being part of creating a legacy, a kingdom legacy, that'll last well beyond my time. And the next generation will be able to work out what they do with the legacy for their following generations, but our job is to do our part well. So our vision is to build an open community campus that will see the needs of our local community being met. Built on Christian values, the campus is equipped to meet various needs of the local community, including education, spiritual, social, and medical needs. This open campus is an expression of the mission activating community transformation by wherever, whenever being like Jesus. This campus is a place for the people. We see a campus that it's home to Activate Church Hamilton, Vision College, Train Me, and the greater ATC New Zealand, Community Link, which is Budget Link, Food Link, Teen Link, Property Link, and the other links, Activate Medical Centre, or as we know it at the moment, Little London Medical, and also maybe a fitness centre, a cafe, early childhood, and various things, accommodation. The vision is to develop a campus in a modern, tranquil, park-like environment. So the dream is spiritual. It's a place that's social justice, a place of fitness, a place of social services, of health, medical, and of recreation. In other words, it's a holistic vision. It affects every part of who we are as people and who the community are as people. The vision is to build an open community campus for the people of Hamilton so that the local community will know this campus as theirs. We will be able to meet the holistic needs of our community. We can bring the goodness of God to our local community, and we can offer excellent community and social services. We will see our local community with crime down, poverty down, violence down, and hope up. Is that good? Excellence. The dream is excellence in delivery of top quality services, offering excellent community and social services, holistic care of people, increasing hope, and a place that is good for our city. We believe true hope is found in personal relationship with Christ. Can I stop there for a minute? Because at the end of the day, that is what this is all about. You don't look at pictures I'm about to show you and see buildings, trees. Buildings, environment is simply a tool. And what God, I believe, is asking us to do is to create an environment, and He's giving us and asking us to establish tools that at the end of the day are all about leading people to Christ. That's where it starts and finishes. We also believe that it is our responsibility to wrap excellent quality practical services around this hope as an expression of God's goodness to our community. Our vision is ambitious, our vision is unique, our vision is local yet far-reaching, our vision is expensive, our vision represents Kingdom of God values, our vision can be your vision, and together we can move from dream to reality. The dream, many ask why, we're asking why not. We believe that these great ideas can become a reality. They can become part of something, we can become part of something amazing, and that we can leave a legacy. And so, whilst we haven't spoken a whole lot publicly about the dream and the vision, it has been alive and well percolating under the surface, believe me, and we have had many, many conversations about where we're going and what we're doing. Why are we going to do it? Well, quite simply, we believe that this is what God's asked us to establish. haven't got another reason. The honest answer is it would be a lot easier not to do it, because I see some stress here, I see expense here, I see a lot of work for a lot of people here, all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, we come back to, we believe that this is what God is asking us to do. And a phrase that kind of caught a prophetic breath, I suppose, a while ago, was to stamp a thumbprint of the kingdom on our city. Something of the identity of the kingdom of God on our city. As we sought God over many years, we continue to get a sense of a green light. If we had not had that green light, we would have stopped. But we've really sensed the green light, the smile of God all the way along, and we've just kept saying, well, yes, Lord, you need to take us to the next stage, to the next stage. If it is your will, it will come about. And it might have taken 7 years so far, but we're well on our way now. So at the end of the day, it's an obedience issue for us. Because we believe that this is what God is asking us to do as a community, we find ourselves in the position where we either say, okay, Lord, we'll be obedient to what you're asking us to do, or we won't. It becomes that black and white. And so we believe that this is an obedience issue, is to pursue the green light and do what we believe God has asked us to do. Obviously, over 7 years, there's been a lot of discussion and debate around things. I just want to show, actually, Pastor Ray, do you want to explain how our structure is?
Hi everyone, how you doing? How's the week of fasting going? Did you see the Facebook video this evening? I just thought I'd put that in. Okay, let's get back on what we're talking about this evening, because time is going fast. Did you pick that one up? Fast. Okay, I'm just seeing if you're awake, okay? So our structure, it's important that you understand our structure. This is an overview of the trusts. And so over 70 years ago, Activate Church Hamilton was established. It wasn't called Activate Church Hamilton at the time, but this trust, or the church structure, has been around and developing and so forth. And so we have a structure called Activate Health, Activate Church Hamilton, so many abbreviations here. And of course we have Activate Foundation and Community Link Trust. So the Activate Church Trust is where all the activity of the church functions, where tithes and offerings are received and expensed for the function of the church. Activate Foundation has been in operation for approximately 30 years, and that is independent in its finances to the church, and it has significant property portfolio. It owns significant pastoral land at Powers Road, owns the buildings at Ruakura at ATC, and is the primary vehicle for purchasing the Transfield buildings that we are looking at this evening. And then finally, we have Community Link Trust, our social service trust, which was established almost 9 years ago, doing all the activity that does also. Activate Foundation, the AFT, is the 100% shareholder in ATC and Little London Medical Clinic. We haven't put that up there tonight just to make it simpler. So when we look at the different entities, or as we go through things, if I can just, you may be thinking, how can the church afford to buy a building such as this? Praise God for the wisdom of people 30 years ago that established the foundation. And I am so grateful to those people and the insight that the Lord gave them, that there's a significant property portfolio and resources to help make this purchase. So as time goes on, we'll explain more and more about it. So this evening, I think, is very much about capturing the big picture. And then as we walk this journey over the weeks and months and years ahead, the details will become a lot more known, and we'll have more understanding around them. So I trust that gives you a bit of an overview of how the structure works. And finally, these bodies consolidate their finances into the Activate Faith Community Trust, which was established in 2015 when there were changes on local church structures within the Acts movement. And so the trustees of the Activate Faith Community Trusts are the same trustees of the Activate Church, the eldership there. So I trust that gives you some clarity on how that works and how the finances flow.
So where are we up to with the project? We identified the buildings around the transfield buildings, that's the current people in there, round by ATC, as being a possible target for us about 7 years ago or so. And the conviction over time grew, and we knocked on their doors and got nowhere for quite a while. Probably had a real breakthrough, would it be 2 years ago now? Pastor Ray and I went over, and the trust that owns the buildings gave us the opportunity to present our vision. And so we presented the vision, and actually the brochure that I just read to you, showed to you. And at that point of time, God did something and really softened them. And they said, wow, we are interested in being part of leaving a legacy for the city. And from then till now, the talk has been constant. And we looked at different options of being able to, us to go into that property and help them out of that property. None of those eventuated. But last year, the owners approached Pastor Ray and said, you probably need to make an offer on the property. So you go from, this is quite exciting, you go from we will not talk to you, to you probably need to make an offer on the property. That's a significant shift right there. And so that started the whole wheels turning of negotiations, and we signed a contract with them in December for the sale and purchase of the transfield buildings. And I'll show you pictures of the buildings so you know which ones shortly. Once the contracts were signed, we entered into a phase of due diligence. And that's where we still are. And just because of the pace that the wheels are turning, we may have to extend that period a little bit, but that doesn't change anything. What we're trying to do is we're making sure that all the ducks in a row before it clicks over the line unconditional. And so at the moment, actually I'll let you talk to this, Ray. Tell us what's happening at the moment, all the things behind the scenes.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, as Pastor Sheridyn said, the foundation, and I want to thank you, Graham and Caleb, who are here this evening as trustees of the foundation, also Cameron, and I don't think Cameron's with us this evening, who we worked through. We actually signed the sales and purchase agreement to purchase the two buildings, the larger building and the smaller building. And so the process is that once we've signed it, we now have a number of months to do a lot of checks to make sure that the building is suitable as a place of worship or a place of assembly. So some of those checks, as you see this building, it was built in 1945. It's a very large, big concrete structure. When the architect walked into it, he went, oh my goodness, didn't he? He went, wow, what an opportunity, a project to design something in this place. And so one of the things that we need to check with the engineers, is this building going to be all right in an earthquake? Should we have one? And his initial assessment is, look, I think you're okay, but we're going to have to do the forensics. So what that means is they put x-rays on the columns, they're checking for steel structure and concrete strength and so on and so forth. So all those tests need to be done and reports submitted. We've already had the building checked for asbestos, and a building this old does have some, but as long as it's concealed, it's not an issue. We've had limb reports done. We're also in the process of checking the soil for any contaminants and so on and so forth. We've had it assessed for sound. So it just becomes a pretty long, drawn-out process. And most recently, in fact, this evening, we've received the latest concepts from the architect, which you'll see. So this needs to be discussed and worked through and chewed over and so on and so forth. I want to thank you, Caleb, for all the financial modelling that Caleb has done from the foundation's perspective in terms of purchasing it and how the church is involved in that. So there's a lot of work that's happened and continues to happen. And I want to say, Pastor Sheridyn and I with the eldership, thank you so much for your generosity with the vision offering at the end of 2018. We raised, I think it was close to 69,000, I think, Caleb, in that order. And praise God. So can we put our hands together and give God thanks and acknowledge that wonderful contribution? And so that's wonderful. So we're in this process of doing these many checks. One of the very, very important checks, as you can imagine, is having council's permission to gather there as a place of worship or a place of assembly. I heard of a story where a church gathered in Auckland without getting council's consent in a warehouse, and when they found out, the council closed the church meetings down. So that's the last thing that we need to have happen. So that's a lengthy process. All the car parking, traffic assessment, stormwater, all these things need to be assessed. And it's in process, and it takes time, but that's where we're moving along at the moment. So it's exciting to be part of it. And so that's how we're progressing through. And as we continue to get more information, further meetings like this will be held to give you the latest details on those reports and how things are looking. So, so far, it seems to be so good. But we'll just wait and continue to wait for more information.
So with the consent process that Pastor A was just talking about, we're endeavouring to get the consent process done before we go unconditional on the sale, because the resource consents, etc., last for 5 years. So if we know what we're up for before we start, it would be advantageous to us. So that's the plan. So what next? We just need to come to the end of all these processes, and then we will be able to, and by the way, for me, due diligence, this is part of that, is making sure that as a church we're all on board, making sure as a church we understand what we believe God's asking us to do and where He's asking us to go, and that as a church we're all going yes and amen together. Because if it's just me going out there going yes and amen by myself, it's going to be a lonely walk, I tell you. So this is all part of that process, and I've wanted to stand in front of you and talk with more detail for years, but I've known it's not wise because we haven't got enough to give you, where the fact that I can now give you some stuff to start to absorb and be able to ask some questions and different things, I personally think is fantastic. So it's very, very exciting. So these are the properties. If I should have brought a pointer, sorry. Put your hand up if you know where our ATC campus is around the corner. Okay, most of us. So this is the main ATC building here. If you look up to the top in the middle, that's the countdown building just around the road. Just to give you some context. Oh, we've got one. Thank you. I like that. Shine it in my eyes. Oh, can you see that? That's countdown up there. And oh, look, it's an even better one. Come on. Industrial strength. Make sure there's no planes flying. Okay, so that's countdown up there. This here is our main ATC building. And this is part of our ATC property. At the moment, a builder owns that property there. There's another property in here which someone else owns. But the rest of, and that there's owned by someone else. But the buildings we're talking about are this one here that I'm trying to draw around, and this one here. So you'll see it's quite a large parcel of land if you go all the way through there. This building here, that's part of Vision College. We own that one now. 2013, that one. That's a music school with the auditorium and everything there. So what we're looking at is roughly up here, along there, down there, to about there, back, around and down. At the moment, we're very fortunate because they let us use their driveway. It's not actually anyway. So that's the area we're looking at. You can see from the road view, that's a tall building. It's not particularly pretty. You do need to have the ability to see the future for it to be attractive. Some of us need to be pulled back so we actually see the reality. That's probably where I sit because all I can see is the future. And luckily I've got good people around me who say, Sheridyn, I think it's a dog. Have you looked at it properly? And so we're making sure we look at it properly, and news for them is it's a great building. This was the architect's first concept of it. And I said, wow, that's a bit different. He said, yeah, you could make it look like that just with cladding, which is amazing. So like I say, you've got to be able to see the future, not just the bare bones is what's there now. This is just a concept of the big building would be our auditorium. We would build it as a community centre. So it's not just much like we do here, you may not realise, but we have people in here every week doing stuff, renting out this facility. And so we would set it up very much in the same vein so that it's a blessing to the community. The whole campus needs to be a blessing to the community. So the church would meet there, but it wouldn't be known as Activate Church. It would be part of Activate Campus. That happens to be where the church meets. On the weekend, we would have an office block there as well. The office block was a lower building on the side. This is hard for scale, but it's actually quite a large building there. And then the big, tall building, the thoughts at this stage are we would try to contain the auditorium in one half of it, which would leave the other half for foyer space and community space and a cafe or whatever. Ray and I visited a church last week, Ray? Or the week before in Auckland, Life Church. We've just done a massive project. And we talked about the sizes and ratios. They worked on the ratio that the foyer space needs to be as big as the auditorium, which needs to be as big as the children's spaces, which, to my understanding, is about where it needs to be. And you would have noticed here on the weekends we get really tight because our foyer is just not big enough, and neither is our car park anymore, but that's the way it goes. That's just a concept of what it could look like inside. I'll go through this because I've got a later one to update you with. That was the first kind of thought of what it could look like as a campus. And let me try to go to this other file only just arrived. So look at that. Brilliant. So this is the architect's latest thoughts with a bit of paint and stuff. So that's the current ATC building. That's the one that we're looking at. That's the one that we're looking at. Music block. That there is currently garages. We own half of that one. And the owner of the other half has told us that he would sell that half to us. Then down the back, we own this one here. That one there, we don't. We thought we did last year or the year before, and we got right down to the very end of the process, and someone read the lease, and it said it had to be offered to, who was it, their partner in business or something, and the partner said yes, he'd buy it, so that was a real pain. This here, we already have. This is ATC Train Me, where Lance spends a fair bit of his time. In here's the ECE school, an alternative ed school at ATC. This here's just old sheds, and this is our main building. Just out of interest's sake, this building here, which is a large building, the owners also verbally said to us that he's not quite ready to sell it yet, but when he is, he will come to us first. We haven't got any money, but, you know, God's will, God's bill, eh? So I haven't even had a chance to look at these properly. It's a bit more of a 3D thing there. So that's with the property as it is, okay? Just with a bit of paint and tidying up, because what I asked the architect to do here is to give me a little bit of a timeline of how we could go forward, because to do the whole project in one hit is kind of out of our reach. We will have to step things out. But there's some different angles. It's quite cool, eh? And then I get really excited when we get down to these next bits. Now I'm getting excited because now he's starting to bring the park and campus concept really together with car parking all around and trees and different things, which is very exciting. I'm even more excited now because it's got real trees on that one. But I think that's great. It starts to give you a feel of what it could be. I sense a real place of peace. That's what I believe in my spirit when people drive onto the property with a park-like environment, that it will be a place of peace. I tell you what, I would know that we'd nailed it when I walked in there and saw people from the community having a picnic on the lawn. I think, yeah, we've nailed it. That was great. So there's just some different angles of his pictures. From the sky. So just in case you're struggling with your context, that is Countdown Supermarket. That's the Mitre 10 Mega. That's your Storage King in here. And the rest of the block. One of the things I really like about, because anything's risky, You know, this is a big project, there's risk there. But one of the things I like about the risk in this project is that is an incredibly desirable parcel of land for a developer. And you pray you never have to have a backstop, but if we did, that would be very, very desirable. Oh look, that one's got people. And we're getting closer. So that's a bit more of a concept there of the big building, which would become the home of us as a church family. Again, this area it's really large, isn't it, Ray? Would be the office block. That would become the home of Activate Church, really, and Community Link most likely. And then this rest of this area here would be the community centre, which, with his latest concept drawings, the auditorium would hold roughly 800 people, 830. So inside it's very, very tall. I think it's, 3 levels high. And it would be very functional. I was with the mayor just before Christmas and we were talking about it, and he just said to me, he said, it's a cathedral. He got really excited. A cathedral, so high, it'd be amazing. So, because he knows the building. So 800, context of 800 seats, we've got 600 seats in here now. We can fit 800 in here. It's not about necessarily being bigger, but it's about having the overall presence of the campus. Some people's philosophy is to build really large. I personally don't subscribe to that philosophy. I think we're better to be slightly smaller and use it more often than, fill it once a weekend. And also in our city, the sort of 600 to 800 seat auditorium, which this is very, very attractive for people to rent because there aren't other ones. And so a lot of people use this facility for that reason. So we would be endeavouring to help grow that whole thing. So, what do we need from you, the church, at this point? Prayer. We really need God to move and bring all the pieces into place to get it over the line. At the end of the day, we're doing this because we really believe in our hearts that this is His will for us to do. And that's why we're doing it. It would be in the natural so much easier not to. But we don't believe that's what God's got for us, and I don't believe that's what God's got for our city. And so pray, please. Pray that it will all come into place, all the pieces will come together, that the reports will be good as they come in, and that everything will happen. Then as we go forward, we will keep you informed with what's happening, because it's starting to get a little bit real now. Time frames, just so you know, the buildings are currently leased, so when the contracts went unconditional, the front building we would take possession of straight away, because economically that's a good thing to do for the foundation. The large building would be a minimum of 2.5 years by the look of it before we've got it. But we'll need that time to do all the groundwork. When I say we've got it, before we can actually do something with it and get in there. So it's going to be a multiple year project, but we'll start to see some visible stuff happen before too long, which will be very, very exciting. Prayer is the big thing at the moment. Prayer is the big thing. Of course, if you want to sow into it financially, we will be addressing that as we go along, because this is a real stretch to do this. The foundation are helping in every way that they can, and they are really going out on a limb to help bring this all together. But from a church perspective, we've got to do the church. And it will be a big stretch for us. It won't be just really simple. We can make it happen, click our fingers. It will be a stretch. It'll be a faith journey, an exciting one, but we can start to pray into that. And as I say, we're going to bring some teams together to help us walk through that.